So, yeah. It is showing it. I like that.
Yes. Yeah, I think the only thing was missing was the clicker.
Well, that's kind of the hope that it's not. I honestly, I don't like that. Let's do it. Yes, ma'am.
How are you doing? I'm good.
Yeah.
Voy a estar aquí afuera. Si me ocupan, voy a estar en una amiga.
No, no hay problema. Apone, apone.
Good, how are you?
Okay.
Clicker.
Thank you for your advocacy. Ms. McNair. Yes.
Yeah, I get calls from people. So your mom had to chip it today. I'm like. Well, take your cake. Call the order. We have everyone present except for Martin. First item on the agenda is to approve the minutes. Motion to approve is presented. Motion made, second, any further discussion? Not all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? First item on the agenda, 1101 East Levy Street, Capitol Theater, Sky. Mr. Velez.
Yes. So the Capitol Theater was built in 1928. I'm putting the 1938 because the reopening that was done that year after probably the tropical storm and so when they redid the sign and so you know that it was designed by Phelps, the building, following the Spanish colonial revival. And what I'm saying here is that simply the building could achieve the recorded Texas Historical Landmark and the National Register of Historic Places as well. I'm showing here where the property supposedly is located. So naturally in the first Sanborn maps, it doesn't appear until 1930. The black and white Sanborn map, and then the 1957 Sanborn map showing in pink, meaning that has brick walls and so on. Well, it has also a concrete structure, as you would see later on the photographs introduced by the architect. Here I'm showing you a cracked photograph from 1928, and you can see that the sign was that one. So I assume that the sign was simply lost on 1933 with the tropical storm. This is the 1938 reopening from the newspaper, and you can see that the sign is exactly the same. These are some photographs that I took on 2021. So these are more recently when the one of the subcontractors checked how was the sign. And so from this, you can assume that it's not exactly a porcelain sign, but what is called a vintage metal sign that is painted, hand painted. And so we will see some examples later. Well, it's located in downtown core. Those are the uses if you were going to demolish the building. The Secretary of Interior standards specifying how kind of a commercial storefronts look like, and that the repair, this is important. They say that naturally you have to preserve what you have on the storefront. We are assuming that the design is part of that storefront, and it says that you can repair or substitute materials of those extensively deteriorated or missing parts of storefronts where there are surviving prototypes, such as transoms, kick plates, pilasters, or signs. So you have to determine, first of all, also if the structure and the sign is extensively deteriorated or not. So let us check what are the historic signs that still exist in downtown Brownsville. One is the Capitol Theater. The other very known sign is the Majestic. You can see to the left when the building was opened on 1949. So it lost also the upper part and that other area. And so apparently they redo the sign, trying to imitate what it was before. This is La Pulga. It comes from 1982, and it's in Levy Street. You have both historic signs from that year. The photograph was taken yesterday. This is the old Oyster Bar, because the other one is a very recent, the one that is on top. This is 1970s. You have the Crest sign from 1959. This is the original, such as the logo to the left. You have El Faro, that is a 1975 sign in this beautiful boulder brick building, that it's from 1848, 1850, as far as I have researched. Then you have the McDavid building, that is called like the Coca-Cola building. You have the wall stone signs there. But those signs came from 1941. You have Los Elizondos, 1968. And you have La Retacera, 1985. Those are the signs that are right now in Brownsville, because I think that the property owners and the new property owners were very kind destroying the previous ones. So as potential suppliers to do the signs, I'm showing kind of three companies. The first one is the one that practically holds right now the contract for the sign, that is Signs and More. It's a company from Brownsville. You can see what was the condition of the sign on the left, and then the condition after the rehab to the right, down here in Central Boulevard where they have the offices. What they have done is, as you can see, they treat the surface carefully to restore it to the visual field. So this is, it's inside. It's inside. The link is not configured. Then what they do is, okay, painting, as you can see, those are the steps: fading paint, typical enamel, rust, spots, and corrosion, surface green. That's the condition that they were checking, and potential rusty condition of the metal. Gentle surface cleaning, the non-abrasive cleaners, rust neutralizers, stabilize fragile edge, some flaking paint, color match paints, and fine detailing work. So those are the steps that they carry on. So once it was rehabbed, the sign has been, let us say, fitted in on the second floor of the building against the wall. It's not exactly as it is here, that is kind of holding from the wall, it's embedded, you know, so it's not exactly the best way to show the sign, but that's why I couldn't have a photograph here because it's closed. The second floor is closed only for the users. So then the second company that have done kind of marquees and so is Megavolt in Austin, Texas. So you can see here some details such as what they call the double ball nose neon tubes and the rest of the marquee to the right. That's a theater that they restore in Austin. You can see here some details of that same marquee. They have done also another porcelain sign, and this is precisely what we have there. That is on the Capitol Theater. That is what they call vintage style neon signs, a metal cabinet fabricated matching the text or graphics and a Baker image that is painted by hand. So you can see all these kind of things that they have rehab. Plus the third company that is A Signs from Springfield, Illinois, and they have this experience. They have done the Weinberg, the Emerald, the Robinson, the Fillmore, the Main Street Theater, another main theater. Those are, as you can see, in different states. Southtown in Illinois and the Granite City. They also have a museum that is a sign museum with all the neon signs that they have rescued from other places and so. So, first of all, the staff has no recommendations. It's a COB property and it would be a conflict of interest. If I defend the interest of the city, you are going to ask me why. If I don't, somebody from the city would ask me why as well. So it's a conflict, but I'm going to try to explain what perhaps you should have to be asking yourselves when discussing or when asking to the architect. So what we have done is simply show the history and 3 different potential contractors, even one I think that holds right now the contract. So you could discuss and debate what would be the best approach. So the temporary removal and alternatives that the staff see are the following. As you know, it's the oldest sign in Brownsville. It has 80-something years, and it's probably the most striking with the majestic sign as well. And the questions that you should have to ask yourselves and to the architect, and so in order to vote correctly, is whether the sign must be temporarily removed to verify the structural capacity and viability of the sign itself. Should be the following: can the pivot screws securing the metal sign enclosure be removed? You would see on the photographs that the architect is showing precisely those pivot screws that hold the metal skin of the sign itself. Can the structure's condition be checked afterward and repaired or replaced if necessary? Can the historic pivot screws be replaced with new ones of the same diameter without damaging the historic sign? Can they be removed and repaired, or can anchors be built to relocate the sign? Can the sign be properly restored and returned to its original location where it has been since 1938? Is there a specialist in Texas who can do this work, or do the architect and contractor need to find one outside the state with enough experience to do the job? These alternatives, bringing back the sign to its place, will follow the Secretary of Interior standards, but somehow it's a kind of a contradiction, and I'm going to explain you why also the Secretary of Interior standards consider that also they would follow the standards in case that if the historic sign is replaced with a replica, because it's a sign and you can do a replica only because it's a sign. If it was the facade or something like this, one thing is certain building materials, another thing is a huge a whole feature, such as a main facade of a building. That's when you cannot do a replica. But in any case, what I'm trying to explain is that if you do a replica because the materials are severely deteriorated, and this is what you have to determine, if the materials are severely deteriorated, so it must be built a replica and not bring back the original sign. What is the possible relocation of the historic sign? Who will be its future owner? To whom would the sign be donated if it is not reused indoors? And what kind of sign is proposed to replace the original? An exact replica, including the neon lights? And as I'm saying, this alternative also follows the Secretary of Interior standards if the materials are severely deteriorated. So that's all from my part. If you have any question to me, or you want to open the public hearing so the architect can explain the rest of the presentation that starts here.
Jesse, are you here to speak on behalf of this issue? Give me your name and company or.
Move to open public hearing.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Okay, Jesse.
Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Not very well.
How about now?
There you
Okay.
go.
Got to get rid of it. Okay. My name is Jesse Miller. I'm one of the principal architects at Megamorphosis, and we were brought on by the city to look at the Capitol Theater. So you may remember about 2 years ago, a portion of the roof, the lower roof, collapsed. And so there was an immediate need to fix that. So the city came to, asked Megamorphosis, and we brought Green Rubiano and Associates onto the structural engineer. And we looked at that the entire roof structure and membrane and all of that needed to be completely replaced. And since it was, we together with the city, we made the decision that we would not alter anything on the exterior other than the roof for two reasons. One, we wanted to limit the scope because of the cost. But two, we don't know what the future use will be exactly for this building. So the idea was just get the roof repaired so that the interior is preserved. And then whatever happens in the future with the potential use, that's when the exterior can be addressed. So these are photos from about a week and a half ago. And so you can see the roof is basically complete. However, let's go to the next page, please. A few months ago, we received a request for information from the contractor. The contractor is RGO Construction. There was this beam that was protruding into the roof area that we hadn't really noticed before. So we looked into it, and it turned out that beam was basically the main support of the sign. And so if we go to the next, basically, so these next few images are from Green Rubiano and Associates. Our recommendation was to remove the sign and either replace it as is or rebuild it. And here's why. If we can slowly go through these next images. So the connection points from the sign to the building are all corroded. There's what we call section loss of the steel components holding the, let's keep going. These are not what's holding it. These are covers. If we keep going, let's go a little bit more. Here, that's a good one. So you can kind of see where that metal bar protrudes from the building. Where it starts to meet the sign, it's corroded away. It's been rusted away. So these two bottom connections are basically providing lateral support for the sign. The main connection is the beam up top. And that beam has to be removed in order to finish the roof. There's just no way, unless we do something crazy, but that'll cause problems in the future. So the sign really does need to be temporarily removed. But before we gave the go-ahead for that, we asked that sign contractor who did the Coca-Cola sign, which I was the architect on that building. They did a great job restoring that. I'm also the architect for the Cameron Hotel, or the Cameron now. That same subcontractor will be doing the new sign there. And so I trust the work of this company. We brought this person out and he looked at this and said, you know, it's hard to tell, but from what it looks like, this sign, putting it back up is not the, as is not the best solution. It probably needs to be heavily repaired, but probably needs to be replicated. It's probably not, the internal components are probably so eaten away that it will need to be replicated. But we don't know yet until we take it off, right? We don't want to mess with it because that could cause damage to the sign. So we keep going. There's a closer up. You can see it's not only the bar connecting to the sign, but all of these members are just really eaten away. And so we can keep going. Let's keep going. Keep going. And so here is a good view of, this is that beam that's protruding into where the roof is. And then these B and C are the kind of lateral support connections. And I think there's a close-up of some of those. Let's go to the next one. Keep going.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go a few more. Let's keep going. So here you can see, these are the secondary connections. It's basically a through bolt with a piece of steel that's barely hanging on. So again, like this sign, we're thankful that it's still there. We're thankful that it hasn't fallen for whatever reason, but it's time, it really does need to come down in order to be saved. And so that's where we're recommend. Let's keep going. We can skip through a lot of these photos. Okay, so here we asked, this is our proposal request to RGO, asking for a price to remove the existing sign from the building to preserve it in its best condition possible and to ensure that the existing sign is well documented both before and after removal. And then to repair the sign to full working order, or if repair is not possible, replicate the sign as an exact copy. And then we will follow this up with, we will need to determine a new way of reattaching the sign to the building, which will look the same, but it will be better. It'll be better than that through bolt and that little piece of metal. It'll be better than that small steel beam that was kind of just protruding into the roof and anchored to the roof. It'll be a much more robust system. And so if we go to the next, so on the left here, sorry, this is the price. So it's $98,680, and that is to replace the sign. We're kind of assuming worst case scenario. So this is a change order that we're asking for the city to accept, but this does need to go to the city commission because of the amount. And in order to do that, we need to come before you to inform you and get your permission to remove this sign, look at the existing conditions, and then repair or replace as needed.
Have you been in contact with THC in Austin?
I have not.
Don't you think they need to address this issue also?
There are no funds that require that. But in terms of, what advice should we seek from them?
Well, I don't know. I'm assuming that even though I haven't seen any historical marker on the theater, I'm concerned about replacing this with a copy. If the historical commission says you've messed up the opportunity for a marker of some sort.
It sounds,
I don't know.
It seems like the sign is a significant part of structure. It's not just.
So Juan, what is the status of that building in the district?
The status is a medium preservation priority ranking, naturally because the condition of the interior, the stage, and the rest of the things have been lost. That doesn't mean the latest experience that we are having here in Brownsville is that a lot of these medium preservation buildings, once you rehab it, they are upgraded to a high preservation, and then you can get the corresponding designations. In the case of this theater, that would mean probably that you had to return it back all the interior, which I don't know if we can do it because where are the drawings of the original theater, you know? But that's a matter to discuss with the Texas Historical Commission. The sign could be perfectly considered as Fernando says, as an
Go back.
integral party or part of the.
Will you go back to where you were discussing the Texas Historical Commission designations for signs and where,
Oh, yeah.
go back, yeah.
Did you have a question, Reba?
Yes, no, I think, was there something else that said something about signs, or is this the only thing that will apply?
No, this would be the only thing to apply.
Okay, and, okay, so, Mr. Miller, thank you for being here and thank you for all your good work in downtown. And aren't you involved with Hardin too?
I am on the board of the Housing Authority, so yes.
It's looking fantastic,
Thank you.
fantastic. Okay, so this 98,000 is a replacement sign.
It is.
And is your idea that it needs to be replaced because the sign is deteriorated also inside? Is that what you're saying?
This price is, if that is the case, yes. Assuming the worst.
And then what is they will not say what the rehab price would be?
It would be less. And that's where we would want a revised quote, but we wanted to come to the city commission once with the worst case scenario, which the sign manufacturer thinks is probably the case.
He doesn't think there's a way to save it
Sorry.
or rehab it, rather.
Reba first, Reba. I mean, I can see in the photos, yes, the structure needs to be rebuilt, but the cladding, the sign part, in the photos, I haven't seen anything where that can't be reused to where all the structural members are done and that metal cladding is put back, even if deteriorated a bit, it still looks to be in good condition or can be the true elements of the sign, all the maroon and orange.
There are some cases on the edge of the sign where it has been eaten away or deteriorated. So again, ideally that would be the case, but I do think, did this signage sub look at this sign a few years ago as well? Okay, so yeah, this was the second time that they had looked at this and they were pretty confident that the internal components probably need to be rebuilt.
Oh, internal components, definitely, but I would hate to say it needs to be, I can't see why it can't be rebuilt with the internal components and what we see there, to be
Reattached. And the other thing is that, on good preservation, Texas Historic Commission, National Trust, all those people, they'd rather have a slightly moth-eaten original rather than a brand spanking new replica.
Yeah.
So even if it's a little moth-eaten, because I bet you the enamel's chipped around the edges and there's probably some pitting and so forth. But except for that bottom part, which clearly has failed, I would think that
worth more.
saving the original to the extent it can be, even though it may be a little bit moth-eaten, is better historically and always in the state and the federal, is considered preferable to brand new sign. So
Yeah.
clearly the underpinnings, I think your photos show it very well. Clearly, the underpinnings have a big problem. And I'm sure all the interior ballasts and the neons, sure, that's gotta be all redone. But like Fernando says, I think the cladding
Yeah.
is worth,
I think it would even be worth more rebuilt with, it rusted on the outside.
because then you can say,
It's
still
the
the
original, it's still the
original
original
sign.
Yeah.
sign. I mean,
Yeah, we will,
Yeah.
we want to push for that, absolutely.
Okay.
it's difficult to say, yes, go ahead. If it needs to be replaced, go ahead and replace it. And then somebody just comes along, oh, it's gonna be easier to be replaced. Historical already approved it. It can be replaced. Then we kind of lose that stopgap.
It's like with windows and everything else. A lot of contractors will say,
Yeah.
you've got to replace them.
Yeah.
But actually what they mean is, it's easier to replace.
Yeah, I trust you. I mean, you're into preservation and everything else. But once historical already approves that it can be replaced, somebody is just gonna come along and say, well, historical already said it can be replaced. Let's go ahead and replace it.
It's easier.
Yeah.
So how do we,
So here, there will need to be a permit. The sign contractor will need to apply for a permit once the sign, before the sign can go up, right? So this is not that permit. This is basically permission to remove the sign. So I believe we'll need to come back before you for approval. And what could happen today is the approval to remove the sign is to prioritize keeping as many of the original components as possible. And so that'll be our, okay, we got to do that in order to get the permit. Otherwise, we'd have to come back to you, I guess, twice.
Where's the plan to take it?
I'm sorry?
What's the plan as to where to take it?
yeah,
What's your
Where's it
he's
go?
on Central Boulevard, he said.
It'll be at their workshop.
Okay, so you're here today to get authority to remove the sign, not to replace the sign at this point, but to remove it. And then I understand you would have the sign taken to the sign company, taken apart, and then you'd be coming back to us saying it's too short to reuse or replace. We'll have to do a new one. Or, yeah, we can replace this with some minor modifications to the sheet metal or whatever. I think that's the way I'm leaning.
I think that's an acceptable path forward.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is JP Villarreal. I'm the Director for Internal Services for the city. I'm also the lead as far as the city, on the city side for this project. What we're looking for today is that approval to remove that sign, but we'd like to go to the commission one time with this cost. We don't want to have to keep going back to the commission. That's just going to delay this project even further. So we're looking to go to the commission and get this cost approved. If necessary, we can come back to an update to this committee and saying they've looked at it. We're going to use, this is what we're going to use from the original sign. And we'd like to go back and move forward with that. If we can, that price goes down, but we've already got approval to use up to that 98,000 from the city commission. So if that's how you want to do it, if we want to do it, approval right now to remove it, but given the fact that we need to use as many of the existing components as possible, that's fine. And we can come back and update the committee at a later date once we're ready to put the sign back on. But what we don't want to do is go back to the commission and say, again, we're here again for the sign. Because now we're talking into, maybe even December or January, given how long the sign could take to manufacture. And technically, the substantial completion for this project is today.
Technically what?
The substantial completion of the roofing project is today. So I don't want to have to
mean the
hold
Cannot be completed until the sign is removed?
pretty much, yes, ma'am.
Well, how about if you're gonna have to do something to the support structure, is that gonna be another contract to repair the support structure to support the sign?
Yes, it will be.
So it will be something else you'll have another bid to do the support
That's
structure?
a possibility, yes.
We do have a little bit of a contingency fund that may be able to cover that, but we know it's not enough to cover this.
I think clearly the photographs that you show indicate the sign has to be removed just to stabilize it, put it back, and it's a public health safety thing as well as the right thing to do for the building. I think everybody's in agreement with that. The question is then, that next level of decision that I think we're all sort of leaning towards, which is, what happens if somebody make the effort to save the original pieces or just, walk away? So I think if we can land on that, and I think we all seem to be going that direction, clearly the sign has to come down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
No
agree,
question about it.
sign needs to come down.
And it's hurricane season,
Yeah.
I just assume it came down
Yeah.
before it
Yeah.
really came down.
Before nature brings it down.
Yeah, all for bringing it down, I worry approving something that says, or replaced, if it's in the wording and then somebody takes it.
Well, we can
Again,
def-
trust you guys,
Could we
but
have
just
an
somebody
agreement?
somewhere along.
Could we just have an agreement between all of us that before a final decision is made as to what is, whether it's patched together or completely replaced, that maybe we just talk about that? Because the worst case scenario is in your budget. So if you submit the worst case scenario, you've got everything covered, right? Financially. So I think that would be the good thing, as long as we can kind of have an understanding that, we just don't let the sign guy say, oh, just replace it.
Yeah, I don't think that that's an
Okay.
issue. I definitely don't. We can definitely have a conversation with that.
I think we're good. I'd be happy with
Okay.
giving you that permit.
Okay, so today, all you're asking for is authority from us to remove the sign, correct? And then you would come back at some future time with analysis of the condition of the sign and what you're recommending at that point. You'd come back to us for that. Okay. Any further questions for, no?
Motion to close.
Okay. Motion to
Second.
close, is there a second? Motion made, second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion passes. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to give them the permit to remove the sign at their, as they need to, with the understanding they'll come back later.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, motion passes. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
I think it's the only.
I'm sorry, a quick, this had nothing to do with you guys. Just a quick note on, now that we're talking about signage and whatnot, I think it's good to go on record to make sure the stories continue to pass on the story behind St. Charles Street and St. Francis Street. Everybody familiar with the story about how back in the day, the signs were made in Matamoros, is that correct?
Yes.
And it went for approval, Charles Street and Francis Street, but in Matamoros, they saw the ST as in Saint. So they put it in front of Charles and Francis, and it became Saint Charles and Saint Francis.
So you're proposing to change it?
No.
No. Just to go on record to make sure.
Okay,
uh,
sure.
These
I love
stories don't
the
get, forgotten and,
Yeah.
untold stories.
Calle Francis. yeah.
So how come it didn't get St.
Joe.
Elizabeth?
Yeah, exactly.
Please adjourn the meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
Motion.
Okay, motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, second. Further discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed,
Never
motion
lie.
passes.
Never dies for lack of
No.
knowledge.
You know what I like about this
When-
sign?
Eso es la prueba del minutes. Bueno, luego lo veo.
So that people on levy.
What is the
Yeah.
other beginning?
I was telling, well, the sign guys did my
Oh,
office.
yeah.